G'day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to talk a little bit about how you can gear your character up to 415 and beyond in terms of not touching raids. So basically we are going to be taking a look at how we can get past the raiding curve and essentially get gear and get our characters up to 415 or higher without having to invest into raids. Now I will say getting past 415 without doing some kind of higher level PvE content is pretty much impossible / difficult. The grind is incredibly tedious, so yeah, gonna depend entirely on your motivation, but getting to 415 can be relatively quick. Firstly, we'll talk about time rifts. So time rifts essentially are a super quick event. They occur every hour. You can farm paracausal flakes from them, and these paracausal flakes you can use to purchase 402 gear, which is pretty good. This 402 gear has a max item level of 415, which is really solid. And yeah, basically speaking, it's a very easy event to farm yourself some really solid gear from. Essentially super duper straightforward, and basically like very simple. There's also mounts you can get from this, so it's a pretty cool event, and yeah, pretty straightforward. Frag assaults are also available now, although not maybe done as popularly as they were before. Essentially still a pretty good source of gear. It's mainly the weekly drop from the boss that you're interested in. The chest itself doesn't drop anything too wild, so it's mainly the boss drop that you're actually interested in, and it's a pretty good source of flight stones from the daily quests that you get. Remember, you're going to need flight stones to upgrade your gear, so it's very important that you grab a couple of those because it is super important to get. So yeah, although it's not the greatest source of actual high level gear itself, if you can manage to snag into one that's being pretty active or organize a group, you can get the boss to appear relatively quickly, and when that occurs, you can grab yourself a pretty decent drop. Now, it'll be a veteran piece of gear, but it can drop itself up to 411 in terms of item level. So it can drop itself up to upgrade level 4 out of 8, which can save you some resources. It is RNG, so it's not guaranteed, but it is at least something relatively good that I think you can definitely enjoy. So yeah, honestly speaking, I think some relatively straightforward stuff so far. Pretty much these are weekly events. So, well, time rifts are farmable, but only really up for 402 gear. There's no super max gear you can get from there. And the frag assault is mainly weekly. So these you're probably going to do once or twice a week. Time rifts, I would say you're probably going to do maybe 2 or 3 times. Depends how much you want to farm the mounts, more so than the gear from there. And the frag assault is great for the Drake Flame Crest and also grabbing yourself, the standard gear. Now, Dream Surges are the best way to farm gear. Dream Surges, you can actually farm the Coalescence pretty easily, and this you can use to buy 402 gear pretty easily as well. So this is definitely something I would suggest you look at. The weekly gear that drops from here that you can buy with the with the Dream Surge Catalyst is actually really good, so I highly suggest you grab that as well. Now, the next important area is to go to the Zarelek Caverns, or the underground, and here the reason why I point this out is because this is a great source of flight stones and also some of the lower level Shadow Flame Crests. It's actually really quite good, and it's a really solid source of resources that you're going to need to upgrade. So if you're looking for some quick upgrade resources, maybe flight stones, maybe some Shadow Flame Crests, this is actually going to be the place to go. Not to mention there is still the Researchers Under Fire event, and this event can drop some decent rewards. Not only does it drop Shadow Flame Crests, depending on how well you do during the event, but it can also drop pretty higher level trinkets, which are nice, as well as also, give you some, possible high level trinkets. So yeah, that's kind of covers the underground. We then have weekly quests. So there's the 5-time walking dungeons. This is pretty solid, or it'll be 5 heroic dungeons, or even 5 mythic dungeons. Now these are good quest lines because you don't have to do Mythic Plus. You can just do straight Mythic with a group, and it'll take you like 5 seconds to do. There's also the weekly quest for the 435 or 415 piece of gear by doing 5 heroic dungeons, which is also fairly easy. And then there's the aiding accord, which although it does not necessarily drop gear, it does drop a lot of valuable resources that you're going to need, including gold. So that's pretty good stuff. And that's that. That is honestly actually all the best ways to level up. You don't need to touch a single raid. You don't need to do anything. Obviously, LFR is a pretty good source as well. But if you do these, you'll get to 415. Now, the get to 415 is a bit difficult. So the veteran gear you can get to 415, it's going to be dependent on the Drake Shadowflame crests, and these are tied mainly to the weekly quests that you do. So the Drake Shadowflame crests, those only really drop from completing like the Farak Assault, the Dream Surge event, and I think like the first Time Rift quest that you do drop some of those. From then on out, it's mainly doing dungeons, which you want to try and avoid. The whole point is to avoid doing dungeons and raids, essentially. Even though I showed weekly quests, but I mean, they're supposed to be easy. We're talking like Mythic Plus. So yeah, really simple stuff. Honestly, it's a great passive way to gear up, but to get to 415 will probably take you, depending on how hard you grind, could take you about a week to get to 415 if you grind all your veteran pieces. If you're looking at taking it a bit slower, I would say probably around about 3 weeks and you could get to 415, because by then you'll have 3 pieces already from the Dream Surge event itself, and you probably should have upgraded at least another 3 pieces to max. So yeah, pretty good stuff. You'll be close then. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for me. Don't remember to exchange your items into said items, and yeah, that's it. See you guys next time. Bye.